I was returning from the cairn on the summit in a mist when I began to think I heard something else than merely the noise of my own footsteps. For every few steps I took, I heard a crunch and then another crunch, as if someone was walking behind me, but taking steps 3 or 4 times the length of my own. I said to myself, this is all nonsense. I listened and heard it again, but could see nothing in the mist. As I walked on and the eerie crunch sounded behind me, I was seized with terror and took to my heels, staggering blindly among the boulders for 4 or 5 miles down to the Rothermircus forest. Whatever you make of it, I do not know, but there is something very queer about the top of Ben MacDhui, and I will not go back there again by myself, I know. Hi guys, it's October the 1st. That can only mean one thing, and that is Vlogoween. Oh my gosh, so excited. Can't contain myself. I have dreamed about doing Vlogoween since like Graveyard Girl first did it, what feels like many years ago, and it's just been on my bucket list, and this year I am doing it. So yes, it's happening. Corona has changed my original plans slightly, but do you know what? We've got 31 days of mythical British creatures, creepy tales from North Wales, and probably some food, because we're stuck in the house. What else can we do other than make food? We're kicking things off with the big grey man of Ben MacDhui and Fear Leamore. I think that's how you pronounce it. Not Scottish, so don't know. So if I butchered that, I apologise. Please teach me. I do have quite a lot of Scottish heritage, so... well, I sound so American. I have a lot of Scottish heritage. No, but I do though. My mum's mum was Scottish, and I kind of feel like it's in my blood. But she's not here to ask these questions to, so if I'm butchering the language, she's probably going to come and haunt me because it's October. Or send my mother to slap me, one of the two. Anyway, that's enough of a freaky little tangent. Let's crack on. Okay, the thing I absolutely blooming love about Scotland is that it's shrouded in mythology and magic and ghosts and spectres and history and warfare and tribes and clans and just beautiful Scottish pride, and I love it. I absolutely, it's like one of my favourite places on the planet is Scotland. And you then got like that sort of storytelling, hand-me-down sort of way of passing information on, along with the accent and the landscape. It just makes it such a perfect melting pot that you can't really always distinguish the line between truth and legend, but that's like what makes it special, right? So who is this big grey man? Well, some say it's a throwback to the times of the giants, the animus to the famous Cailleach of Ben Nevis. Others say it's a yeti, a Sasquatch, a Bigfoot, or a spirit, or if you're a skeptic, it's a figment of your imagination. Ben MacDhui is the second largest mountain in Scotland and is part of the Cairngorms. Many climbers have noted that the Cairngorms have an uncanny power of inducing a feeling of eeriness, and the mind, alone in lonely places, creates many things out of its imaginings. It really is this perfect sort of melting pot, atmosphere, place, location for some really creepy stuff to happen. But does that mean that it's your mind, or does that mean that it's actually just hella haunted? We don't know. The first recorded sighting of the big grey man was in 1791 by the poet James Hogg. He encountered a brocken spectre atop of the mountain, describing a giant blackamoor at least 30 feet high, equally proportioned and very near me. I was actually struck powerless with astonishment and terror. J. Norman Colley, who was a world-renowned scientist and a very, very capable climber who had climbed all over the world, many mountains, knew what he was doing, was the next to record his sighting of the big grey man. He climbed in 1890, but it wasn't until 1925 that he broke his silence on his frightening experience atop of the mountain, and this is what he had to say. I was returning from the cairn on the summit in the mist when I began to think I heard something else than merely the noise of my own footsteps. For every few steps I took, I heard a crunch, and then another crunch, as if someone was walking after me, but taking steps 3 or 4 times the length of my own. I said to myself, this is all nonsense. I listened and I heard it again, but I could see nothing in the mist. As I walked on, and the eerie crunch crunch sounded behind me, I was seized with terror. I took to my heels, staggering blindly among the boulders for 4 or 5 miles, nearly down to the Rothamerkus forest. Whatever you make of it, I do not know. But there is something very queer about the top of Ben MacDhui, and I will not go back there again, by myself. I know. It's from a scientist man well renowned to have his faculties all in order, and he was fully creeped out. Later in 1958, another encounter with the mysterious creature was reported in The Scotsman by Alexander Tunian. He said, in October 1943, I spent a 10-day leave climbing alone in the Cairngorms. First of all, can't we just take a break to ask why the heck all these people are climbing mountains on their own? Like, take a friend, guys. Don't do it on your own. It's not safe. Back to what he said. One afternoon, just as I reached the summit of the cairn of Ben MacDhui, mist swirled across the Larrig Grove and enveloped the mountain. The atmosphere became dark and oppressive. A fierce, bitter wind whisked among the boulders, and an odd sound echoed through the mist. A loud footstep, it seemed, then another, and another. A strange shape loomed up, receded, and came charging at me. Without hesitation, I whipped out the revolver and fired 3 times at the figure. When it still came, I turned and I headed down the path, reaching Glenderry in a time that I have never bettered. You may ask, was it really the Fir Learmore? Frankly, I think it was. So what do we know about the big grey man? Well, from the reports of many climbers, we know that he is big, at least 3 meters high. Sometimes the reports have him as much bigger. He has long arms and legs and is humanoid in appearance. It means he looks like a human. Stroke ape. Stroke pig. Some say he is covered in short dark hair, others say he has olive skin. Again, you know, it's mountain, it's foggy. Who knows? Maybe he molts in the winter. No, maybe he molts in the summer. Who knows? But either hairy or not hairy, but he's big, tall and dark. The one thing that never changes though from any of the reports is the emotional change that is experienced. One of fear, terror and dread, and the sound of the footsteps. They are consistent throughout every sighting. It's that emotional change and the footsteps. In 1904, climber Hugh D. Welsh heard unexplained slurring footsteps near the summit of Ben MacDhui and had an eerie feeling of apprehension. In 1945, Peter Denchman, a mountaineer and rescue worker, heard a crunching noise and was overcome by a feeling of apprehension. And in 1948, Richard Frere, a climber, wrote about his sense of a presence, utterly abstract but intensely real, on the mountain, and heard an intensely high singing note. All of these reports as well, it needs to be noted, are from experienced climbers that have climbed a lot of mountains, have travelled and know what they're doing. So it's not like it's just some weekend hobbyist. It's, you know, mountain rescue scientists, journalists with the Scotsman. They're all like really experienced outdoorsy people, so you know, gives it a bit away. But is it real? Is it real though? Well, of course, with any mythological creature, it can be explained away, because they can all be explained away, can't they? There's always something that goes, oh, but it's just this. And the phenomenon that explains away the big grey man is a phenomenon called the Brocken spectre. Brocken spectre can occur in certain atmospheric conditions when the sun is at a particular angle. The subject's shadow can be cast onto a cloud around them, creating an illusion of a large shadowy humanoid figure. So it's basically, they're saying it's a trick of the light, you know, clouds, the sun, the mist. It casts a shadow, and it's you, basically, is what you're saying. But what about the footsteps? What about the noise? Well, they carry on explaining it by saying, well, the sun can heat the rocks and it can make a funny noise, or, you know, it can be echoing from wildlife, or it could literally just be the sound of your own steps hitting the clouds and bouncing off, or just a figment of your imagination, mate. You've seen a shadow, so your brain's gone, oh, there's something there, so I'm hearing something as well. So they think it can be explained away. It can be explained away, but what can't be explained away is the sheer terror that is felt by every single person, and I think that just needs to be recognised. It's creepy, you know, and we need to bear in mind that whilst climbing mountains seems to be a really in thing to do during lockdown, not saying anything, but there's a lot of people at Snowdon. Ben Nevis, Snowdon, Scarfield Pike and Ben MacDhui are just that, they're mountains, and they are hard, difficult tests of strength and endurance. Yeah, they're not Everest, we know that, but they're still hard, and there's weather conditions, and they push your mind and your body to its limits. That's what they do. That's what mountains do. And the places that the brain can go during these periods of exhaustion and dehydration and coldness are no joke and terrifying in their own right. You don't need a ghost or a scary story to make your brain play horrific tricks on you when it's under pressure. So a mere figment of the imagination is totally possible, but it's Scotland. It's a land full of mystery, myths and magic, and it's very definitely a mountain that has caused even the most experienced and sensible climbers to literally lose their minds. So I like to think that there's more to the story than it's just a figment of the imagination. It just doesn't seem like it can't just be that, right? It can't just be your brain and some tricks of the light. There's got to be more to it. I don't know. I don't really want to go and climb it and find out though, so you know, I'm just gonna be like, probably something about it. I'm gonna leave it at that. What do you think? Let me know what you think, and whether you think the big grey man is a real deal or it is just a trick of the imagination. I want to know in the comments below. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share the love. You know, this is my first Vlogoween. Let's make it kind of cool. Yeah, and that's all, and I will see you all tomorrow. Bye.